It's time for Pod of the Dead. Join us.
Me. Alright. Action. There. Hello and welcome to a new riveting episode of Pod of the Dead. I'm your host, Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the two ladies, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello.
What are you fuckers laughing about? On today's episode, we are covering the 2016, right? 2018. Already fucked it up. Let's start over.
No.
Oh, no.
No, just keep
Fine.
going.
The 2018.
Persevere.
I can't persevere. The 2018 horror film, A Quiet Place. Coming into today's homework, what did you girls think about this film coming into it?
I have seen the second one, but not the first one. I listened to a John Krasinski podcast a couple years ago, and he ruined the first one for me, so I never watched it and just jumped straight to the second one.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm the one that recommended it for this podcast because I was like, I saw this once way after it came out, and I was like, I want to rewatch it to see if it has rewatchability and if I liked it as much this time as I did the first time. So yeah, that's what I did. What about you, honey?
Yeah, I didn't watch this specifically because of something that I heard John Krasinski say. Now, whether I have this right or not, this is what I remember hearing. So so what I remembered hearing him say was that horror films are easy to make, and he wanted to prove how easy they were, so he made this. Now, I couldn't find that. I looked to try and fact check my own preconceived notions and stuff like that. I couldn't find that exactly, but I did hear, I think what I'd heard was maybe a paraphrasing of that and pieced together in my own brain over time, because he did say that he himself was not a fan of horror, because he's easily scared of stuff, so he's not a horror fan. And then so that was kind of my reason for not wanting to see this initially. I've never seen this movie up until homework today, or this week rather.
Last night. Yeah.
So, also, everyone just deal with me. I had COVID all week. I'm good now, but if there's any nagging or my voice sounds weird, that's why. Anyway.
Yes.
So that's the reason I never really watched it. Upon kind of researching that and everything to see exactly what he said, it seems like maybe I misheard a little bit or whatever. Whatever. That's the reason I've never watched this. So there's that. There is one thing though that I would like to bring up that I keep seeing a lot of, and I kind of want to just point something out here. Okay. So John Krasinski is credited for writing, directing, and starring in this. He did not come up with this story though. He has a writing credit on it. There are two other men that wrote this movie, and then he added some edits to it. Okay. So there's some stuff that I've seen and everything where people are like, oh man, John Krasinski's story, pump the brakes. He had a writing credit on it. He did not write this. So that was something that I was reading and everything, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'd come down through other people talking about it and stuff. They're like, oh, John Krasinski stories. And I'm just like, there were actually another couple guys that, so
they did the heavy lifting,
yes.
And then he just came in and edited out the pieces in order to fit his directive narrative or whatever.
Correctly. And that happens. That happens plenty of times and stuff. But I think it's in my book, it's in bad taste to just keep lumping it all. Like this isn't.
It's not his credit.
This is not me shitting on this movie because of John Krasinski. I like him. I think he's a very good actor and all this stuff. Before we really even get into this movie, it is well shot and all that jazz, right? But this isn't a Jordan Peele movie in the sense of writer director where he writes the whole story and directs it kind of thing, or even because even like John Carpenter with Halloween, he did not write that story all to his own. He has a writing partner, stuff like that. So that's something that I did want to get out of the way, because it was like kind of sitting on me. I was like, I have to say this. I have to say it now. But anyway.
Yeah, because like layman's terms, like common, I always thought it was all of it.
Correct.
You don't know of the other two people.
Yeah, because he actually he had no interest in doing this movie. Like, and this shows you that he didn't come up with it. So he almost turned this film down because he was getting ready to start work on the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan series. When he was asked by the producers if he'd be interested in appearing in it, John replied that he did not do horror. But when he was presented with the premise about a family that can't make any noises, you have to figure out why.
Yeah, Tasha.
Yeah.
It's very fitting. I'm dead.
Jumped right on board. So yeah, he did this script had been floating around and stuff. He just got a writing credit. He didn't, if this isn't his story.
Yeah, it's showing that Brian Woods and Scott Beck wrote the story and the screenplay, and then John Krasinski is just credited for the screenplay.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's just one of
So he adapted it.
it's just one of those things that like I always have that kind of problem when something is popular and someone gets all the credit for it. The number one thing that I always go to is the song Hurt that Johnny Cash sings, like right before he passes away. He did Hurt. That is a Nine Inch Nails song. And so many people are like, oh, I love that Johnny Cash song. It's like, it's a Nine Inch Nails song. Johnny Cash covered it. But
Settle down.
You know, yeah, like you can like his version. But it's not that, like, no different than All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. That's not a Jimi Hendrix song. Like, that is a cover of a, what's his name? Bob Dylan. You know, like, that's who that originally is. Like, give the credit where the credit's due, you know. You can like, you can like their version.
They're just revamping it to fit their version. Correct. Yeah. Just like the Cranberries and that's with the zombie song, and then the Bad Wolves came out with it, like, I don't know, a couple years ago, and they remade it.
I thought you were gonna say that Cranberries didn't write Zombie. I was about to be like, no, they fucking did. It's about war atrocities.
I know it is.
Ireland.
I love that song. Yeah. So we watched A Quiet Place, and now we're gonna talk about it some more. What is
wow?
What is our budget?
Don't sound so excited.
I know.
Oh yeah, that's why
I just don't know what to. I don't know what to say about this movie. I said that today. I was like, I don't even know what to say about this movie. We watched a movie.
Yeah, you're gonna talk about it when we fucking get there. Jesus Christ!
Has a resounding thumbs up from Steph. It sounds like
this was your choice.
I know that, and it wasn't bad. Like, I don't think it that way. It's just I don't know. It's just one of those. I honestly don't know. Just go.
Let me run the fucking show, and I will. Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
All right. So the budget of this film, what the fuck do you think it is? How haven't you answered me already? I just asked the question. Come on, hurry up.
The budget.
It was a big budget movie, I'm guessing, because of who's in it. I'm gonna go with 35 million.
I'm gonna go with 20 million.
It was 17 million.
So Tasha wins, but we were still over, so we lose by
Price is Right rules. We lose.
I think that you overestimate how much in 2018, so made in 2017, more than likely, John Krasinski was worth. Because prior to this, like, he hadn't done the Jack Reacher stuff or anything. He was known.
He was super famous from The Office.
Yeah, but that's television. That's not movies.
That's fair.
And
it's got Emily Blunt in it.
Yeah, but Emily Blunt is also not like, I wouldn't even say like a top 10 actress. Like, she's a well-known actress, right? But I don't see Emily Blunt as a, like, oh man, we have to snag her. Like, there's a lot of women that fit that mold. She's not like, I don't even know who I would put up there, like, as it's not like a Margot Robbie or someone like that is like just has that name that's like, oh, it's that new movie with Margot Robbie in it.
Right.
You know, It's like Emily Blunt. Like me, for instance, I'm like, I think I've heard of her and other stuff, but it's not.
She was Mary Poppins.
See, I don't give a shit about that. Because that's not the Mary.
I like her because she's really charismatic. I just like her as an actress.
That's not the Mary Poppins I think of, though. Like
it's really not. Yeah, that's true.
I know who Emily Blunt is, and I know what she looks like. I could not tell you another film she's been in.
I'm going to look it up right now. I was on top of it.
She was in the Disney movie with The Rock, with the boat.
The Jungle Cruise?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've watched that movie. I don't remember her in that.
I think it's her.
She was in Oppenheimer.
Seen that. Didn't remember she was in it. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I've seen a lot of shit she's been.
Was she his
Edge
wife?
Of Tomorrow?
I watched that. Yes.
Yeah, she's the wife.
This is a nepotism movie. God damn it.
She was in The Fall Guy.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. That's the one with Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah, that movie's amazing.
The one where he's like a video game character.
Oh, that movie was terrible.
No, it was.
It was so bad. I didn't even finish that one.
It wasn't.
Oh, really?
I love that. I love it.
It was all right. But we're not here talking about Fall Guy and all that. We've just now confirmed that we don't like Emily Blunt is a forgettable actress.
Yeah.
Realistically, that sounds horrible. She's not a bad actress. But
she just fades into like the general actress of the time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. We'll go with that.
Well,
all right. What do we make?
Do you not agree with that though?
No, I do. Like to a degree, I do.
It's not meant to be a derogatory thing.
It's not. It feels like it is though. And I'm always like, let's not talk like that about people. But yeah, I agree. I feel like she's more like an average person like playing in a movie.
Very capable actress.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But to the whole point of this, it's not somebody that we need to shell out money to get her. But
do you think John Krasinski is?
No.
Okay, so like I was just wondering, like, where do you hold him in terms of like level there? If she's not one of them, is he one of them?
No, absolutely not. Especially at this time, like I was saying, he was only known really for The Office and everything, and that's why this was kind of like look at him, he's directing and he's starring in this, and it was a big deal. I remember about that, like
yeah, and I really liked him in the show that Prime came out with, the Amazon Prime, the Reacher
Jack
one.
Ryan.
Jack Ryan. I always get Jack Reacher and Jack Ryan always confused.
I know. I know.
It's all the same.
Are they by the same guy?
No, it's all about a guy beating up. It's all like paramilitary kind of espionage stuff.
Jack Ryan's based off of the Tom Clancy books. I don't know about Jack Reacher.
And then Jack
Reacher is kind of like that, but not exactly.
It's like two sides of the same coin, kind of. Like, if you like one, you'll probably like the other, that kind of thing.
Probably, yes. And they're both made by they're both Prime shows too, so that makes a difference too. All right, I'm gonna look and see what else he's been in because I was just curious. So yes, he was in Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. He was in The Office. He was in the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse.
Yeah, he played Reed Richards.
For a
little bit.
Yeah.
What was that?
Fantastic Four. Yeah, it's arm stretchy.
Okay.
Reed Richards.
Do the dances. Yeah.
Yeah, he played Reed Richards.
Yeah. He played in The Holiday, I guess.
Who knows?
He wasn't one of the main characters in that.
With Jack Black.
He played it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and Jude Law.
It's with Jack Ryan.
Yeah, and it says he was in Free Guy also.
Jeez.
Who fucking knows?
Everyone
was in that fucking movie, I guess.
Apparently, yeah. And then Something Borrowed, which is like a romance movie. It's complicated.
I've seen Something Borrowed. That was cute. It's like a dramatic comedy kind of movie.
License to Wed with Robin Williams.
Nope.
But all right, what do you think the box office for this movie was off of its $17 million budget? What do you think its global box office?
$100 million. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to guess.
Dr. Evil has entered the chat. We have $100 million.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of people really like this when it came out, and it's highly rated.
It's a very popular horror film.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 100. I'm gonna say 100 million, but I'm always off. I always fuck this up. So
I was gonna go even higher.
What do you got, Tasha?
$132 million.
Okay, yeah.
You girls aren't even close.
Is it way over?
Way higher than that.
Okay, 237.
473.
Actually, Tasha's kind of close.
Holy shit!
This movie made $341 million.
Wow.
Damn, that's amazing.
Off of a $17 million budget.
off of a movie that barely has any dialogue.
Has too much dialogue. It could have used some more sound though, but I'll get into that. God, it's so fakely quiet.
He's gonna nitpick this. So this is his thing.
Have you ever walked in a barn?
Have you ever watched a guy get reanimated with the thing that shoves in the back of him and he gets up and he blows through a door? Okay, we're talking about horror movies here.
No.
Yeah, Nick.
We're talking about rules that are set up in a movie. That's always my thing. If you're going to set up certain rules, I think running through grass makes noise. I'm sorry.
I also think that if a head is severed from a body, they both shouldn't be working in tandem together. They should be, because there's no spinal thing.
Not in
that breaks the rules. Apparently not.
It's not bringing the dead back to life. It's reanimating the bodies. That's it. Sorry. You can try and shit on Reanimator. It is.
I don't know. I don't even know why. It's because it's sitting next to me, and I was like, that's the one thing I can pick to drive Nick absolutely.
You're not
going to
drive me crazy. Reanimator has a better set of rules than what is this movie called? The Sound of Music? Oh no!
You haven't even seen the Sound of Music.
I've seen the Sound of Music.
Seriously, I thought you said you hadn't.
I've seen that live before. Even. I've seen that yeah. Shh. Get the fuck off! Get the fuck off my court!
Maybe you didn't like it.
I like the Sound of Music. Okay. It's one of the few musicals I do like.
Okay, I would have never guessed that.
Do you even know me?
Apparently
over
not.
here shit talking Reanimator saying I don't like the Sound of Music. Get the fuck off my podcast now.
This is the strangest argument I think I've ever been witness to.
It is. It probably is.
The Sound of Reanimator.
This is what we do every day. So yeah, this is our household.
Anyway. So yeah, this movie made $341 million, which I don't have Scream's numbers up in front of us, and those were also wildly different eras. I think this might be our highest grossing film that we've ever covered. I can't think of anything that would have come even close to this. This movie.
I'm gonna look up highest grossing horror films in general and see if there's anything.
Yeah, but
in our world,
it came out. Like I said, it came out in 2018. Even though I fucked it up at the beginning. Which going back and researching 2018, I just did a video for TikTok about asking people what their favorite year in horror is and stuff. And like, you just kind of go through, and I did some research and stuff. It's like, 1978 is like Halloween, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and Dawn of the Dead. Like, there are certain years that have like really big like horror outputs. Another one's like 1996 is Scream, The Craft, and From Dusk Till Dawn. Like that kind of stuff. It's like, holy shit, that all came out in one year.
The Craft is a really
love
good
that
movie.
But 2018 is a stupid good year for horror as well, and I didn't realize it. So, as always, I'll give you like the top 10 movies for horror that came out that year. But then there's also just a list I've already got. It's like an absolutely amazing year. So the top 10 for the year. Number 10, The Strangers Pray at Night, which was a sequel.
To The Strangers That We Watched.
Okay. I can barely make that noise.
Continue.
Good try.
I do what I can. as some old lady once told me earlier, persevere. Winchester, which I'm not familiar with at all. It came out from CBS Films. Slender Man. So then number 7, Hereditary, came out that year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Number 6 was Goosebumps 2. Number cute. 5, The Insidious, The Last Key, which is like the 4th one, something like that. Number 4 was The First Purge, not Purge number 1, but the title was The First Purge.
Oh. Okay.
Number 3 was The Nun, which was really big.
Oh yeah, that was a big movie.
Number 2 was the start of the new Halloween trilogy, which I mean, some people really love those movies. I'm not a fan.
No,
and then A Quiet Place was the number 1 horror film for that year. Grossing.
Wow. Okay.
In America alone, it made $188 million.
Wow.
Jeez, ow. Okay.
So
it's just different. I think that's why it definitely has very famous people in it in comparison to a lot of horror movies.
I think that's the big thing about this. There's a lot of different things. It's PG-13, so you're going to get a lot more people into the theater.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
You have recognizable faces. That's going to bring people in. It's also going to make people feel like, I feel safe in this because it's not going to be this. It's PG-13, so it's not going to be this blood and gore fest or anything like that.
That's true. It's not.
And it's like sci-fi horror, which for the most part it seems like it's a safer avenue when it's in a big theater.
Yeah,
because that makes sense.
It's not going to be like Terrifier or something like that where it's just blood and guts and stuff. So it's got a lot of that stuff going on because like Halloween is, especially that new trilogy, is notoriously violent, right?
Yeah.
And it was right on its heels of what it made for that year. And it also came out way later in the year. So like A Quiet Place came out April 6th, 2018.
That's Noel's birthday.
There you go. And that made 188 million over the year. Halloween for that year made 159 and came out October 19th. So Halloween made a fuck ton of money when it came out. You know,
I never thought about thinking about the time that it comes out.
Timeline.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's also a resurgence though. Like with Halloween, it already has a fan base, so you're already gonna just like Scream does and a lot of the other movies, you're just gonna get a resurgence of people who just actually just like that. And then versus especially this movie is more original, I think.
I have a hard time with that one. I fight with myself with that originality thing for me with this movie, and we'll get into it when we get past spoiler territory and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I did see a lot of people saying that kind of stuff. It's like such an original story, and I'm like, while yes, I can see that, like some quote unquote originality, it also reminds me of a lot of other films. So that's where.
But from this generation is what I'm saying. It's like, it could be generational. Like you're getting into
it came out the same year.
This generation.
It came out right around the same time though, maybe a year apart from Bird Box, which we've already covered and stuff, which is almost.
It's a very similar
movie.
Yeah.
No, not very. I don't think it's that.
I think it is because of the sensory deprivation component of it. Like
correct.
Those two movies, I get confused because of that component of it. I forget which is which in some places.
Yeah. But we can talk about our breakdowns and stuff of like which one we like better, why we thought they were compared, all that stuff.
But so those are like the top movies. But here are this is why I think 2018 is an absolutely amazing year for horror. So, as I previously said, so you got A Quiet Place, which undeniably is an extremely popular horror film. Whether I like it or not, we'll find out later. Now, you also have...
Did The Void come out that year?
What's that?
Did The Void come out that year?
Just let me speak. No, I think that came out in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Hereditary, like I said. Annihilation with Natalie Portman.
Is that an alien
It's a sci-fi horror film. I fucking love that movie. Apostle came out, which is a Netflix original horror film. It's like a folk horror kind of movie. Super rad. The Ritual, which is another amazing fucking horror film. A lot of these we will probably end up doing at some point.
Is The Ritual an A24 film? There's something about that movie. We just watched something that was somebody made it. There was like some similarities or something. We were talking about The Ritual.
I brought it up to you. The guy that made The Night House made The Ritual.
That's it. Okay. I really liked The Night House.
He did the Hellraiser remake as well. Mandy with Nicolas Cage came out in 2018.
That's why you said this is the best.
Such a good year. The Suspiria remake, which is an Italian horror film by Dario Argento. An American remake got made that year, and he's
the guy that just made one of the movies we just watched, right? Did he?
Dario Argento? No, that's Alexander Aja, and that's France. I understand you're an American. France and Italy are two different places.
They are, but you had said his name about something we were talking about in the episode.
We were talking about the movie Opera, which is the one with the girl with the needles under her eyes.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Okay. I knew you had mentioned the name, so that's why I was
because we were talking about Giallo films.
And
then the last one was The Endless, which is another like sci-fi horror film. Super good. But yeah, 2018, I completely forgot how much came out that year that is super, 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 super good.
But just not the mainstream ones, basically, is what you're saying.
And even some of the mainstream ones are.
Annihilation was really good. It didn't even make top 10 for that year. It's really good. Hereditary was number 7. It's really good.
I'm talking top 10. That's what I was saying.
But Hereditary.
Like Hereditary.
I'm not a fan of like the Conjuring stuff, so I'm not into the Nun. Halloween visually and stuff is a good movie. I'm just not crazy about the Halloween movies. As much of a fan of John Carpenter I am, I'm just not a Michael Myers person. Stuff like that. So it is what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, that was 2018 in horror. But
yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Seems weird.
But it's also
but,
so we're starting to get like 2018 and everything. This is where you're mentioning to the A24 thing. Hereditary is an A24 film. You're starting to get a lot more of that kind of stuff in horror. And I've mentioned this before, and I am going to mention it again, where people will refer to stuff as intellectual horror. And I fucking hate that. A lot of people will say that about A24 films and stuff, and they also use that to explain this movie, and that shit pisses me off because it's like it's taking a piss on the horror genre. It's like, oh man, this is such high art and all this stuff, and it's like, it's not a horror film, it's an intellectual
they're
horror.
saying that about A Quiet Place?
I
don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that at all. Do I agree that A24 films are usually? Yeah, technically, yeah, probably, because they have a lot of depth in them, but not this movie.
So is your hang up the fact that they're called, quote, intellectual?
Yes, it's because by saying that these films are intellectual, you're saying that the other ones are like, what's the word? The antithesis of like intellectual.
The dumb horror movies.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, there are schlocky horror films and stuff like that. But the fact that like it's like, oh well, these, and they only say it to movies that are like award-winning ones. It kind of goes back to the whole thing of like in the 90s, horror films that did well were called thrillers, you know? So it's that whole thing where like they can't just say it's a horror film. They have to say it's better than a horror film. And it's like, motherfuckers, it's a horror film. You're allowed to like horror.
Yeah. And within that, it can fall into a category, but just intellectual horror should not be a category.
Well, yeah, it's no different than like back in the late 80s, early 90s and stuff. There's like electronic dance music and stuff like that called EDM and everything. And then there were producers and stuff like Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, all these people, and the publications wanted to call it IDM, standing for intelligent dance music, to which they were like, why are you calling it this? It's like, oh, it's so blah blah blah. And they're like, we like that stuff that you call dumb. Like, stop fucking saying that our stuff is for intelligent people. And it's the same thing. Like Ari Aster, who did Hereditary and stuff, was like, I've never once thought of my stuff as highfalutin. I have interesting stories that I want to tell. He's like, it's no different than The Shining. It's no different than Rosemary's Baby. So stop fucking calling, stop trying to make a divide. I make horror, that's it.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I also think that there are movies that are just, I think you go into it with a more intellectual, like,
lens.
You think about it more. They're more, like you have to dissect them more. And other than like your standard popcorn movie, which we talk about, so we can call movie popcorn movies, but we don't want to call other horror movies intellectual movies because it's derogatory. I'm guessing.
Well, it's the idea. It's the idea that you have to be an intellectual to enjoy these films.
Yeah, that's dumb.
It's that whole idea. By naming it like intellectual horror, it's very gatekeepy. It makes it like, this isn't for your layman. This is for real. Yeah. It's the whole thing of like, only a real horror fan would like this. It's like, fuck you. Like, I will like whatever the fuck I want to like.
It's like people looking at art and they're like, oh no, but did you see this on this art? And this is what makes it so much better. And I'm like, fucker, I just like the art. Like, I don't need to know everything else. I get it. Yeah, I do think that I get what you're saying. I do think though, like on the, without going into it that way, you can, like A24 films do make you think a lot more. So
yeah, but there's plenty of other films that aren't A24 that still make you think a lot more and stuff like that.
That's true. That's true.
Like, I mean, you can really dissect any fucking film. Like,
technically, yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty.
But I don't think A Quiet Place is one of those movies that I would even put in that.
Yeah, I think there are some movies that are like cut and dry that like you just get it for the surface, like on the surface. But then there's movies like The Witch that if you're just going to get it like for the surface, it's not going to make any sense and you're not going to get much from it. And it's going to be really boring.
Correct.
So maybe intellectual is not the right word, but there is a difference.
Yes, I think I think there's a better phrasing for it. I just don't like.
I call him artsy.
Huh?
That would be our child.
No, that was the dogs. Didn't you hear the nails?
Yeah,
I hear nothing.
Well, yeah.
I have no idea, but some fucking tornado just blew up upstairs.
It's like boom.
Yeah. I figured it was chasing with the dogs, and then because I heard a big boom, and then I heard a bunch of nails scratching.
So
anyway, it doesn't matter.
All right. Anyway, this is a movie club. In case this is your first time. In case this is your
That's a new word.
Iglesias.
Go for it.
In case this is your first time listening to Pod of the Dead, I'm sorry. Picked a hell of an episode.
We're normally put together.
No, we are not. Do not lie to these people.
I know, but it's fun. You're here to hang out.
This is like that's the big thing.
That's your job.
That's the focus of this. This is a movie club. We talk shit. We get nothing done properly. We give you a little bit of history about it, and then we just love films and hate films. And then we throw up some more homework, and that's what it is.
And then we go on tangents about things that are completely pointless that have nothing to do with this movie sometimes.
Like Enrique Iglesias. So how this works is we give a movie at the end of the episode, and that's how we do our homework. For this week, we're doing A Quiet Place. After this little bit that I'm talking about right now, we're going to throw up a spoiler warning, and we're going to openly talk about the film. If you have not seen A Quiet Place, it is readily available on, I believe, Peacock and a few different streaming services.
Yeah, we found it. I don't remember where we found it, but we found it.
I think it was on Paramount, something like that.
It's on Paramount.
Something like that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, but if you have watched it or you don't give a shit about spoilers, we're going to get into A Quiet Place. But if you haven't watched it and you don't want it spoiled, come back the last 5-10 minutes of the episode. That's when we give out our homework for next week, where we will watch a film and talk about it next week. But don't leave yet. We've got one more thing before we throw up that spoiler warning, and that's my question that I always ask. What did you girls find this week, or what were you into this week that you'd like to champion?
What do you got, Tasha?
I started watching a new show on, I think it's on Max. Have you guys ever heard of Love and Beth? No. Nick, I don't think you would like it. It has Amy Schumer in it as the main character.
Nope. Oh.
Does it have Michael Cera in it as well?
It does.
Yeah, okay. I've seen the commercials for it. Yeah, I hate Amy Schumer. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nick, you can just check out for the next few minutes.
All right, bye guys.
You can come back in. But it's good. I watched. There's 2 seasons. I binged like the first season last weekend, and now I'm getting through the second. And yeah, it's Amy Schumer and Michael Cera, the 2 main characters, and it's just kind of like about Beth is Amy Schumer's character, and it follows her and like her life when she's in high school. So it like cuts to the 90s, which is pretty cool, and then her modern day. It's just kind of like a day in the life show, but.
Okay.
I really like it. It's really relatable because she's kind of a mess and I'm kind of a mess. So like I can pull a lot from it, which is nice.
So is also, are we changing your name? Are you no longer the inattentive feuder? Are you our resident mess?
Yes, that would be great. I could just put Tosh, kind of a mess.
Mess with potential.
Oh, I like that. There's hope. And also we showed why Short Circuit.
Oh hell yeah!
Remember those movies we watched?
Johnny Five is alive.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I never watched Short Circuit.
Maybe I just don't remember.
Papers will be served.
We've watched both. We watched the second one last night. It's so good.
I don't remember the second one. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it so
The
much.
second one's the one that I remembered more than the first because I was trying to describe it to Drew and I could only remember him with like an eye patch and a metal mullet or a metal mohawk.
Mohawk? That's the second one?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that one a lot.
Yeah.
Is that the one where it's like, and he's like fucking chasing down somebody and you can't hear me singing.
I couldn't hear
I need
you.
a hero. Like
Yes.
he's fucking just chasing them down like
Exactly.
I'll get you. And he's basically like super nice Rambo robot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
After he got like beat to shit by some old mean guy, and then they fixed him up and made him all like, "Urgh." So
All right, Steph, I guess you got some. What'd you watch that on?
Tubi. Tubi has both of them for free.
Okay.
They hold up too.
You got homework.
Yeah.
I guess so. I've never heard of those. I don't think. I honestly don't. Are they from the 90s?
Yes.
Late 80s, maybe early 90s.
Late 80s.
The early 90s,
Okay.
I'd say.
Yeah, I might have seen them, but I don't remember. So, is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I watched. We watched The Prey last night. Or Prey. I guess it's not The Prey. It's Prey. We watched it on. What did we watch on?
Hulu. It's a Hulu original.
Hulu. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Which is a Predator movie. It had 6 nominations and stuff. We'd never seen it. I was like, I'm tired, and I said this like 5 times this week. I'm tired of going through like all of our apps and trying to find something to watch where I'm not rewatching something 10 times and then finding something that I'm actually going to like. So I started a bajillion things this week, watching them, and then last night I was like, you know what? I want to see this. We're just going to watch this. And actually it was better than I expected. The ending was really good. The beginning was a little slow, but I liked it. It's very gory. It was a Predator movie, and I liked, had like indigenous people in it, and I liked that a lot. And it was just really well made. I liked it a lot, and I thought the action was good and very female empowerment forward. So I enjoyed that. Also mixed with some misogyny, so that was good. But
I love my
A little
misogyny.
dose of misogyny.
it does, because then it gives her like that bigger oomph at the end where she's like, haha, I came through all of this and now I'm still this badass bitch. So like she has all of that. I don't know. I really liked the character, and I liked the movie. It was good. And then Noelle this week. Oh my god. So if y'all are living under a rock,
Is this something you want to champion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do, because I think a lot of people would like it. It's called One Day. It's based off a book that came out ages ago, and it's a romance, but it's every single episode. There's 14 of them, but they're only like a half an hour long. It just came out on Netflix, and every episode starts in the 80s, and it's on July 16th, I think, of every single year of these. It's telling the story of these 2 people that just went to college together, and then they've had like a friendship, and then their friendship dropped out, and you go through literally almost 20 years of because I think they skip a few years of their friendship or their relationship. And so Noelle watched it, she binge watched it, and then Maya also watched it, which is some of our kids. And I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this. And Noelle's like, Mom, we're doing this. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And she's like, we're doing this. I was like, fine. So I sat down and watched one night with her 4 episodes. She's like, isn't this the greatest thing? And I was like, it's something. So I do think that it is for people. It was a lot of fun watching it with her.
It's
I
for
have watched
people?
a few episodes without her. Yeah, I do think for certain people it is good. It's a romance, but it also is more of slice of life and like what they're going through. And I think it's really relatable for younger people. And even though it's supposed to be people based in the 90s and the 80s and stuff, like they're older than us. But it was entertaining for what I watched, and it's definitely extremely popular right now. And she just literally texted me and said she bought the book. So
Cool.
I was like, oh well, as long as that's getting you to read it. So yeah, we haven't really done a lot this week.
Well, yeah,
so
I had
that's-
COVID, so yeah. Basically,
What do you got,
Basically,
honey?
what I did, I'm gonna make it short and sweet because I actually have a hell of a list because I had COVID and I just watched a fuck ton of horror films.
Yep.
Most of them I'd already seen at some point in my life, but they were all films that I hadn't seen in a long time. But there was one that I had never seen called Leviathan. Leviathan came out in 1989. And
Is that the one I was sitting?
yes.
Is that the one I was sitting in the
Yes.
living room and you were watching too? Okay, so I kind of watched this too. Okay.
It stars Peter Weller, the guy that you might know as RoboCop from the 80s and stuff like that. Ernie Hudson is also in it. He's one of the Ghostbusters from the series. But it's basically like if you took The Thing and you took Alien and you took The Abyss, which is underwater, you just shoved it all together and just made this like
That's pretty
this
accurate. Yeah.
80s horror film where like there's like this kind of outbreak.
Weird ass monster.
Yeah, and crazy shit goes on. It's not the greatest film ever, but if you like kind of schlocky 80s horror, it's one that I'd heard about for a long time and just never saw, and I actually ended up getting to see it. It does have a line though in it that makes me laugh, like still, like, and it's just something that I keep with me from now on. And basically they're radioing to like top surface and stuff, like trying to get help because this thing's going crazy and like killing everybody. And they're all like real chill, and it's like, well, I can't imagine the hell that you guys have went through. And Ernie Hudson's like, went through, bitch, we're still here. Like, and I fucking died laughing, and I was just like, that's fucking great. I love that. So that one was new to me. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Like if you like kind of campy, like it's not the best horror film ever or anything like that.
But it is entertaining.
But if you haven't seen it and you like sci-fi horror from the 80s, check it out. But then the rest of the films that I watched were rewatches for me. Oh, well, no, I watched Prey with Steph, so that one was new. But I watched Friday the 13th, 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
So 1980, 1981, and 1982. Because those fuckers came out year after year after year. And then
I think that's why I was hearing the screaming come from the bedroom, because I kept hearing some kind of screaming or something coming from the bedroom, and I was like, "What movie is he watching?"
The screaming you were hearing was probably when I was watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
That's it. Yeah, that's
which is possibly the most cocaine-fueled movie I think I've ever seen. That movie is insane, and I have not watched that since I was probably like 14 or so. So like I remembered like Chop Top, and I remembered that like Leatherface is kind of weird and stuff in it, because it's Tobe Hooper, the guy who made the original one in the 70s, makes one in like the late 80s, I believe it is. And it's a satire. It's more like a dark comedy on it and everything. Really fucking weird. Like it's insane. You've probably seen it. Like not everybody's seen it and whatnot, but like
obviously not, because I haven't
do
seen
not
that.
go into it expecting it to be like legitimately scary or anything.
Okay.
It's not scary as much as it is gory and ridiculous.
Okay.
So there is that. But yeah, I think that's all I watched while being sick.
And A Quiet Place.
Oh yeah, I watched A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
I'm here for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
No, but with that being said, I'm going to throw up that spoiler warning. You've been warned. Gave you plenty of time. Talked a lot of shit. You don't like it, leave. But don't forget to like and follow and share us with your friends.
please like us.
Yeah,
Yes.
Send us out there. And to you faithful few that listen to us weekly and stuff like that, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yes, we do.
Shoot us some lines. Give us some fucking movies to watch. I've got our year planned out for the most part, but it's always ever changing. It's like this amorphous blob of films. And if there's something that you really want us to cover that you've seen that you would like us to cover, shoot us a line. All right. So with that being said, we are going to go and we're going to reenact The Quiet Place. We're going to go and have an hour and a half.
Tasha, we gotta be quiet.
I'm going to keep showing you shush because you haven't been in this world for over a year and understand that just be quiet. But I need to tell you to be quiet. All right. Okay. So spoiler warnings up. All right, here we go. A Quiet Place.
So if you want to be a part of our club, you can find us at facebook.com/podofthedead or else on Instagram at pod_of_the_dead or on TikTok at podofthedead. If you want to email us any questions, any complaints, or movie recommendations, you can email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com.
Before we get into the reviews, what the fuck did you make me watch?
I'll tell you. It was a 2018 American post-apocalyptic science fiction horror film. Directed by John Krasinski and written by Scott Beck, Brian Woods, and Krasinski from a story conceived by Woods and Beck. The plot revolves around a mother, who's Emily Blunt, and the father, Krasinski, who struggle to survive and raise their children in a post-apocalyptic world inhabited by blind extraterrestrial creatures with an acute sense of hearing. That's what we watched.
That's
what we
that
watched.
is the movie. Well, that's Pod of the Dead.
Yep, and good
don't
night.
Forget. So, let's hear that. I'm guessing you girls. This is just me. I'm guessing you girls like this movie more than I did. So I'm
gonna guess that most movies that we recommend to you that you haven't seen.
not true.
We'll see.
Because I don't know if we've had any bangers yet that you've actually really liked that. Like we have really loved. Like not that you've hated some of them, but like you've loved them.
I know there are movies
Like I
that we're
strive
watching
to
this.
surprise you one of these days.
I know that there's movies this month that you guys have picked that I have seen that I like, and there's another one that I haven't seen that I'm looking forward to watching. And so,
Okay.
and I was looking forward to watching this as well because I'd never seen it. I know the reason I hadn't watched it was nothing about the film. It was just
I know. It was about.
it was a
Something
moral
you heard.
stance.
It's on
or what-
principle.
Yeah.
Yes, it was some
Yeah.
bullshit fucking reason. You know,
Yeah.
so the fact that you brought it up, I was like, all right, let's just get this out of the way. Let's pull off the Band-Aid. You know, I didn't want to like withhold it for any reason. So,
Sure.
all right. So that being said, the reason I was pre-emphasizing this and everything was give me the 1 out of 10
Okay.
because
Oh.
let's get that out of the way because I have a feeling that you girls are going to agree with the 10 out of 10 more than the 1 out of 10.
Oh,
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna read it and we'll find out. I
Oh,
don't
why
know.
are
I
you
haven't read
reading
this
it?
one out of
Come on,
10.
Dave, read it.
I'm getting there.
Why don't you read it? Why isn't it already read?
I'm about to come through this screen and snatch your hair.
That's
So
why I'm just
anyway.
treating you the way you treated me early in the episode. Come on, why aren't we past this already?
Can I go now? Okay. I usually enjoy movies without thinking too critically about any plot holes or questionable logic used. However, this movie had me complaining so early about the questionable decision making that I couldn't enjoy the rest of the movie.
Preach.
Oh my God, be quiet. As I learned more about how the monsters operate, which the characters already knew throughout, I kept asking why they didn't do this or that to completely negate the various problems that the characters were encountering.
Throw a rock.
I think Nick wrote this.
Throw a
I
rock.
One
had
of the-
some hangups with it too. Yeah.
I did too, but we'll talk about that. One of the biggest issues was the fact that the family knew that by being near a waterfall would drown out noise they make. So why not set up camp near the waterfall and not have to worry about being obsessively quiet at a farmhouse?
Yeah.
I'll give some slack on the questionable decision of getting pregnant, knowing the potential risk of birth and a newborn that would have on the whole family could have been unplanned. But why didn't they at least move to the waterfall when the baby was close to birth
Yeah.
so they'd be prepared for the mother and child's noise? Or even put some effort ahead of time to soundproofing a room in their
Well, they
house.
did.
They already did that. There was even a calendar on the wall showing the expected birth date. So it's not like the birth came out of nowhere. Very basic planning ahead could have made her giving birth less suspenseful and life-threatening.
Oh yeah, they
Did.
really planned
They
for the
did.
birth.
They
They like plastered
did,
the walls
yeah.
and all that stuff.
yeah, like that.
What
that
what
wasn't.
they're saying though
that's
is like
not-
there was so much planning that they should have just knowingly that this is going to be loud and a messy thing and all this stuff. Just take it to the fucking river and fucking just deal with it and live down there and everything. And then you don't have to worry about anything. But you're doing all of this stuff in preparation at the house for some fucking reason. It's just I get what they're saying.
I don't. Okay. Plus, there are many other issues I have with this movie that other reviewers have already pointed out, so I won't rehash those. But the waterfall issue is the biggest I had since they made a point of how safe it is to shout and yell safely by the water. So in the end, I couldn't get over the fact that the rest of the movie, and so it made it a disappointing attempt at an interesting concept. That was the review.
Yeah.
They were hung up on that the whole time, it sounds like.
Yeah, it
my
sounds
biggest
like it.
my biggest problem with this movie, like I'm not going to harp on it, I'll harp on it later, is just that like it's so much built around like a small rule set that they're setting up, but then there's so much done to like make that like not believable. Like like I said about like how quiet the film is, shit's not that quiet. Like if this thing can hear you just whisper to each other and it's a mile away. I've lived in old houses, I've lived in new houses, I've been in barns, all this stuff. There's not a single place like that a board's not gonna creak and shit like that. Like there's so much of that stuff that they just make completely silent. Now, if they would have just made it like, yeah, no, they, you know, that kind of stuff is, you know, negligible and we can deal with that. But the fact that they made everything just silent, except for what they didn't want it to be, I found that to be extremely problematic in this film. Because like I said, running through the grass, that shit makes a lot of fucking noise. And
running through the corn even.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
All that kind of stuff. Like
the rustling of the corn. Yeah.
And don't even get there's other stuff that we'll talk about later, but that there is a problem with that with me. It's like, if you're going to set up a rule set, then you got to follow the rule set, because what's the point of even setting it up? Like, I have
this was kind of lazily done. Yeah,
that's how I felt too. Yeah. All right, let's hear that 10 out of 10.
While the film is short, an hour and 30 minutes, it's well paced. I was really thankful for the time frame.
Was it only an hour and a half?
Yeah, it was a short.
I thought it was 2 hours long.
No,
that's how I felt. And that's how I legit, like, I kept talking to Steph about that and stuff. It's like, oh, it was only 2 hours. No. I thought it was 2 hours.
Wow. The story is about a family's everyday life and eventually a fight for survival. It's about a mother and a father's journey in parenthood during a vicious attack on humanity. It doesn't bore you with details about the, quote, creatures with words you don't understand. The average family just manages to survive, and you follow alongside them in this story. While the very, very end, like the last 10 seconds, leaves something to be desired, a film has to end somewhere. I have to respect that. The acting is great, honestly. I've seen all of the actors before, but not like this. Maybe it was the chemistry between the real-life spouses, John and Emily. The children are also very talented. Every moment in action has a purpose. But no one was overacting and nothing felt ingenuine or out of character. This really helps you emotionally attach yourself to the characters and their story. The technical aspects, I think the Oscars for sound mixing can be expected. I never appreciated a film's general sound until this film, as well as Mother. How do you feel about that, Nick?
I have very strong feelings about that.
This film was incredibly smart, not pretentious, though.
Well,
I'm a big lover of film.
But everyone's telling me that it's a very intelligent horror film.
Yeah, it's smart, but not pretentious. I'm a big lover of film, and this film is so much to be appreciated. It's so much more than a thriller or a scary movie. It pulls you in and attacks your senses. You're really in for an exciting experience. The end.
I would actually, okay, so I don't agree with either ends of this, giving it a 1 or giving it a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, because there are some very cool things in this movie. My biggest hang-ups with the film are just because, like I kind of said, the rules and stuff like that. But we can get into that. So, the movie basically takes place, like, I think it starts off like 3 months after it starts, like after everything happens. It's like 89 days or whatever. 89
days or something.
This is something I'm actually pretty grateful for, because like I said, I'd never seen this film, but I did know what I thought was going to be a bigger hook in the film. I knew that the young child gets murked.
Oh, there. I didn't.
See, I knew that, and I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. You know, like, that's going to be, like, the big thing at the end. That shit happens in, like, the first 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, well, now I get to actually watch the movie, and I have no fucking clue what's going to happen from here on, you know? So I'll just say this real quick. Last time, I fucking hate the sound in this movie because it goes against its rules that it's making. That's the last time I'm saying that, because that in itself is knocking off quite a few points for me. That being said, though, fucking the monster in this movie is pretty fucking rad.
Yeah, Wes kept calling it he kept calling it a Demogorgon.
Yeah.
Looks like it. I can see that.
Reminds me of the Demogorgons. I can too, and I didn't pull that from it because of the first time I saw it, I hadn't seen Stranger Things yet, and then this, it definitely really does a lot to me.
I like the way that its skull cavity like opens up and stuff. To I think it's using that to almost bring in more of the sound.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing is like how it's hyper hearing works, but it also acts like it has sonar, because if it has no sight, just because it's good at hearing, it wouldn't be able to just navigate spaces like it does.
Correct.
So, but then
But we're going off what they know. We're not.
Well, no,
going
here's
off
the
of,
problem.
like,
If that's the case, simple hiding wouldn't work because that sonar would detect them. So there's like, these were the kind of things that I'm just like, it's a very interesting idea and everything, but the trappings that they try to do the movie in against the rules that it's kind of setting up don't work. Like, somebody shouldn't be able to like sneak around in a room while there's a egg timer going, right? If it has like some sonar capabilities, because it can't, like, it's one of those things. Like, these,
It doesn't say it has sonar though, so like we have to go off of what we know.
I know, but
it doesn't say that
it says
does.
that it can't see and it has great hearing.
Yes.
You can't walk downstairs and enter a house that you've never been in without sonar then. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Like how does it navigate around?
Because it doesn't
things?
bump into shit.
I
It
don't
doesn't
know.
bump into shit. It just goes to right where it's at. So like it's those kind of things. But yeah.
It also doesn't talk about its smell. Like, that was another thing. So I was like, if it hear things, wouldn't it also have the only sense it has is hearing? Does it have a smell? Like, because that would be another thing. You could smell things. Like, I don't know. Like, that wasn't covered. But again, we're all going off of what they know. We're not going off what like the rules are for real.
And it's one of those things too where, so, all right, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always willing to be wrong, because this is just me kind of looking at the film. So they're not the only family that exists. There are plenty of other families out there that exist, especially like when he lights the fire at the top, you see other fires in close proximity.
I was wondering why none of them ever got tied in except for that one old man. Correct. What was the point of seeing that?
Yeah, so are we to believe that, so there's all these other people and they're all kind of living the same life and all this stuff? Also, on top of that, just knowing like the way the world is, like, okay, so they know that no armor, they've got armor and are completely unpierceable or whatever, but knowing what like our military capabilities are and stuff like that, and a shotgun blast while its head is kind of open was enough to kill it. There's just a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm just confused with like the logic of how unstoppable these things are.
But you also don't want to shoot all of them, because then more would come from the sound.
Correct.
Yeah, because you get that at the very end. But what I'm talking about is like in the situation where something like this happens, because they don't go to this degree. You see that there's a lot of other people and everything, and there's still newspaper publications coming out while they're there. Because there's newspaper clippings that they're looking at that are telling them like to be quiet and this is how to survive and stuff.
But that's not recent though, because then it cuts to like 3 years later.
Yes, I understand. I understand that. What I'm saying is like, how unstoppable are these things if a simple shotgun blast to the face while their things are open are, when we have, even at this time, drones and all this, like all these crazy military things.
I don't know. But we also haven't watched the second movie.
Correct. But like, that's my thing is like, it would have made more sense to me if how they go with like the ultrasonic thing. Yeah. If that's what killed them or something. The fact that like
that no one had figured that out before.
Yeah, like it was that kind of stuff. I was expecting, I guess, more of a quote unquote weakness. I was expecting it to be way rarer or weird and stuff, like but simply just like it has heightened hearing, so ultrasonic sound, obviously that is a very obvious thing, like that would be a problem to it. I think any basic scientist,
it doesn't kill it just like
correct.
Exactly.
So like you would imagine that like once they find out that there's this like super hearing evolved alien species, because there's a news clipping that says something about a meteor in like Arizona or Nevada or something like that, so we're believed that these are like aliens, that the military wouldn't just be blasting high frequency. It's a lot of that kind of stuff that I just
I don't agree with that, only because it's under the guise that you don't know how many of these landed. You don't know what they did before they got there, what they did once they got there, how much they, subdued the military, didn't subdue the military. You don't know anything about any of that stuff. So you have to go off of, instead of on a bigger scope, you have to look at the small scope that we are given as the movie. So we can't include all of those things.
I get that. What I'm including, though, are the things that they've given me. The fact, like, a paper press is not a quiet thing. And to get newspapers out, like, these are the things that are, like, given to me. And I'm like, how the fuck is all of this, like, if they're that overwhelming when they first started, right? Because, like, you would imagine at the point that they start, that is probably their peak of amount, right? Because nothing is even talked about with breeding and whatnot. So we can't use that information.
Yeah, not in this movie, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, like, but you're like, as people are getting picked off and stuff, you're telling me there's multiple publications coming out to get this stuff out. It would make more sense if it was all through ham radio and stuff. But the fact that you've got fucking papers and stuff, like, paper presses are fucking loud and people have to get those papers.
It could be from just the first couple of weeks, because you also have to think about, like, okay, just like a thought process. I'm thinking aloud here. So say there's 500 aliens, right? Or whatever. And then you have millions of people. Well, you pick off a bunch of those people. The part of those people can keep living their lives, doing what they got to do, getting out the word. And then until they get to those people, and then they start picking those motherfuckers off. So like that. So you are going to have that time, kind of like in Bird Box. Like we were just talking about that, like the same concept. I mean, Bird Box, the bad guy in that is way more elusive than in this one. Like that one, you don't even see shit. And this one, you definitely have a form. You understand what they look like. You understand their weaknesses. And then this one, the other one, you don't really any of that. They also have a very weird relationship with metal. I noticed they can easily puncture through a steel silo. They cannot puncture through the tin roof of a truck. So they're like,
you're right.
I just had like some weird, like, it would be like, I said this also, like when they like jump in the truck and stuff and trying to be quiet and whatnot. It's like, I've been in a rusty old fucking truck. That shit's not quiet.
Loud, yeah.
That's true.
There's all that kind of stuff that I'm just like, there's.
Yeah. And then like we were talking about the corn and all of that. Yeah. There is a lot more loud than you think. And they don't play that up in this movie because they're using the quietness to then, when they bring up the loudness, to be more of a jump scare.
Right, because you were
like, did you jump scare at all in this, Tasha, or no?
Not that I remember.
Wesley jump scared quite a few times. He's an easy get for jump scares. I want to say there was one time that I flinched. I can't remember.
I don't remember where it was.
I can't remember exactly what it was either. But
there was one time where I screamed in agony.
Oh. Oh, we know what that was. Please, tell. What was it?
It was the fucking nail on the step. And then why did they never... The nail essentially became its own character in the movie from that point on. I was so concerned about what they were going to do with the nail. No one ever decided to like pound it down. It just lived there.
Well, you couldn't. Well, that's the thing. You can't hammer down any of those squeaky boards. Those boards are never going to be squeaky because you can't hammer anything because you'll get murdered.
And where did the nail come from to begin with?
It was
she hooked it so it looked like it was from something that was underneath the stair, and she hooked it when she was carrying something up the stairs and then pulled it up when she was doing her laundry.
I did see the laundry bag get stuck, but I didn't realize it pulled it up.
I think she kind of pulled it out.
Just like, look at this nail. It's going to play a role later.
It is funny that you said it was
yeah.
its own character because I have a name for that character, and the character name for that nail is Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, we said that. We're like, Nick's like, is this a Mike Flanagan film? And I was like, I bet Tasha's gonna love this one.
Mike Flanagan and Ty West work together on that scene.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, let's just hold the camera on this so everyone knows what's going to happen. But what's the thing going to be? And Ty West is like, hold my pitchfork. We're going to fucking put a nail in this fucking...
Yeah.
And you're going to watch the whole thing happen.
Yeah, and it was pretty intense too. Like she's like, I'm gonna say this now, like she is my favorite character in the whole movie, and she did so good, especially in that scene. And I do agree with Nick, like there are some loose like pieces of like the rules in the movie. And then, you know, but I don't think that for me personally, that prevents it from at least being somewhat enjoyable. And I do wish it wasn't rated PG-13. I understand why it is, but I prefer movies with a little bit more gore in it. But I thought the acting was done pretty well. I thought when they were talking or focusing on the things that were more detail oriented, the things that you wouldn't think about, like the sand, I thought that was clever. The not wearing shoes, I thought that was clever. The wear, tear, or painting or whatever it was on the floors to like move around so you're not creaking everywhere. I thought that was really clever. Not eating with plates or knives or any of that was really smart.
Never opening a door.
And, like,
there's never a door open or closed until the truck.
Yeah, correct. Like I felt like all of that played really, really well into it. And I do think that like the water scene where he's like explaining the waterfall, which makes logical sense because you have to have a louder noise in order to subdue the smaller noise, like all of that. But I also agree on the factor of like everything has a noise. Yeah. And there has to be like a background white noise that's always all the time. And then like them whispering in a basement or them whispering in a bathroom or whatever isn't going to work. And then Wesley made this very big point to me last night. And he was like, what happens when you have to like fart or you have to go to the bathroom? He's like, everybody does those things. Everybody burps. He's like, what are you supposed to do? And I'm like, that is a good point. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, are we to believe that like they have to be that careful just to go to the bathroom? Yeah. Like, we don't know because they don't cover those things. That makes this like, and I know that's not the point of this movie. It's entertaining.
Like they don't need to cover everything, but what they do cover then sets a precedent that stuff would be a problem. Like the fact that they cannot walk on grass, they have to walk on sand. Like that is enough sound. Like that they have to. But
it could also be, the sand could also be just for their feet too. Like it could be because shoes make sound and so they have to put them on and all that stuff. But like if they're walking barefoot, it's probably going to be more comfortable to walk on the sand.
And there was something on the whiteboard about like doesn't attack sand or something like that. There was something in the background that gave you a little tidbit of why the sand was there. And
why sand?
Right, and that was something I really liked about the movie. Like you knew the precedent was set with the boy getting taken. Like they didn't have to go into this big long, dialogue about what happens. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I think the world building in like the first, I'd say like 20 minutes of the movie, I really liked. I was like, all right. And then I'll ask you guys like what your favorite scene is in a little bit, because there is a scene later on in the movie that I was like, nice, well done. Even though I had a problem with the scene itself also, the way it was shot and everything, I thought they did a really good job. But the longer the movie went on, the more glaring the omissions and the rules. That's where like at the beginning, I'm like, all right, cool. I can get down with this. Okay, this is what we're doing. And then there's just so many more, for lack of a better term, like red flags showing up. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why? And I just kept doing that, like shaking my head, like that doesn't make any sense. Why this, that, and the other? And like even like I never would have thought like about the moving near the waterfall and stuff. But like, I wouldn't move near the waterfall. But this is the thing. So nobody though. We know there's a lot of people. Nobody's living by that fucking water. Like, come on. Like,
well, those people were, because they were living in the house right by there when they were walking by. And then the guy was out there, his wife had got caught up.
I'm talking about down at, like under the sound, like that. It's anyway. But yeah, like the longer it went on, and like I said, it felt like it was 2 hours because like for me, because like the last 45 minutes, I guess, the last half of the movie just felt like it was dragging on, even though it was like the more exciting parts of it. I don't know. I just had this feeling that there wasn't anything up, like there was no actual chips to be lost.
Yeah.
And then when John Krasinski ends up getting offed, I didn't like that at all, because the motherfucker could have just thrown the axe.
So many things. So many ways to avoid getting killed.
Correct. It's a completely pointless sacrifice.
Yeah. Yes.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's meant to be like, so like, oh, he's always loved his daughter and all that stuff. Yeah. Throw the fuck, like there are a billion different ways to, like, they never once do that ever. Right. And it's so blatantly obvious. The dude can build cochlear ear implant, like hearing devices, but doesn't understand that throwing a fucking rock
will make a noise that way.
So and so like once it finally got to that, I was like, well, at least he's dead now, I guess. Even though he was my favorite character, I liked him in the movie. I thought he acted really well. That's the thing. I think the movie was well acted. I think it was well shot. The CG was actually really fucking good. All this stuff. My problem with it is like the crutch that it stands on the whole time. You can't make any fucking noise. Everything's got to be silent. They went way too far on, and it made it unbelievable.
I agree. I do think that was its downfall in the movie itself. And yeah, his death. And then honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the children. And I know I say that in a lot of our movies. You know, we watched 13 Ghosts and I didn't like them either.
Stephanie is our resident child hater.
Apparently.
That was me.
You're usually, I was going to say, you're usually on it with me, but I did not care for most of the kids in this movie. Like, I felt like the boy, I understood why he was scared, and I understood like his fear and not wanting to go with his dad down to the water and like all of that. And then the daughter's very, very obstinate, and I'm going to do this on my own. And like, she can't hear anything because her cochlear implant isn't working. So like, she does have that lack of, you know, wherewithal because in this world, but she also has the benefit of also at the same time because she can't hear anything. So I don't know. It's weird. It was a weird. I don't care for the kids in this. I didn't feel a lot of
especially that little
empathy.
4-year-old. Fuck that kid, right?
That was the only part that was super sad. Really, I mean,
I did
the
feel bad
beginning.
about
It was
that.
like I did too, and it was part of me like I felt also bad for the parents because it was like they didn't see it coming, obviously,
But they
and
let
like
the fucking youngest kid be in the
walk
back.
by himself. I know
the way you're supposed to. I'm not in the military. I've had no fucking survival training. You put your two best people at the front and the back, and then everyone you want to keep safe is in the middle. That is very basic. And you let that fucking 4-year-old be in the fucking back.
Yeah.
You deserve fucking alien CPS to come and take your kid.
Right. It's modern times, and I don't let Wyatt walk behind me anywhere. He's always in front.
I know.
Fucking,
I know.
Yeah, that right there was just
kid,
bad.
Hopefully the kid's not dead. He likes space. Maybe that fucking alien took his ass to space. I don't fucking know.
Right. Okay. Just swept him up into the ship.
It was fast. He very well could have.
It's very true. We didn't see him die.
He's like, your parents suck, kid. Let's go see Mars.
Yeah.
We never see him kill anybody, right? Like we think that it kills fucking John Krasinski, but it could just sweep their asses.
He has blood on him.
Oh
it
yeah, it does
kills the
stab
old
him.
man, right? Like we watched that.
We don't see
and
it.
The wife.
We see him. We see he could have killed that old lady.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't understand that part. I don't know. That would seem like a throwaway.
Yeah, I don't. That part was also another thing. Was like you walking by this house, it says stay out. Then there's like random old man that decides to yell, and none of that made any sense. It was just for the sake of so we could see something happen. I think for the viewer.
Now, when I was talking earlier about like watching this movie, it reminded me of other films. The other films that it reminds me of, I think, just do a way better job at what it's trying to portray. The two movies that it reminds me of is M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, which is
that's
about
true.
the aliens and stuff like that, and them locked down in a house. And then I don't know who directed it, but was it Cormac McCarthy's The Road, which you don't think about like the traveling to and fro in a dystopian wasteland and all that stuff.
The only connection is the dad with the kids, but you're right. The Road does a like a much better job of storytelling.
I'm not saying that they're the same movie. I'm saying they reminded me.
Gotcha.
So like watching this, I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of The Road with like the traveling and not trusting anything and all this like very insular kind of stuff. And like Viggo Mortensen acts his fucking ass off in that.
That was one of my favorite books of all time. So like putting something up against it, I'm always going to pick The Road. Oh,
yeah.
I think,
and did I get
but
the
there
name
isn't
right?
a ton of traveling. Cormac McCarthy. Yeah, you were right.
Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a lot of traveling though. Like it's all still, the majority of it is still within their like compound. I definitely see signs.
The whole movie starts with traveling back to the home, and then the dad travels out to the river with the sun and the waterfall with the sun, and all of this kind of stuff is going on. You're seeing that there's other civilizations around. You come in contact with these people in the forest that he's like, we don't know this person. It reminded me
that part.
Yeah, there's a lot of those things that I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that. And then, yeah, obviously signs.
Needing to use like the weapon, the boy needing to learn how to use protection. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to learn this stuff because you're going to have to protect your mother one day. And like in The Road and stuff, it's kind of like you need to learn this stuff because I'm not going to be here. Kind of stuff. Yeah, The Road kills me every single time. Yeah. The first time I ever watched that movie was the week after Sydney was born, and she was in my lap, and then that movie ends, and I just like am looking at her like, I'll never leave you.
I remember reading that book in my I was in college working my office job, and as people were coming in, I had to like stifle cry like tears. It's so good. Yeah,
The Road's so good. But anyway. Yeah. So what was your favorite scene in the movie?
Mine was...
I know what you're going to say.
What's up?
Go ahead, Tasha.
Mine was when she goes into labor. That was the most suspenseful scene, and with the like where she was like the biggest badass in the movie. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I really liked watching that. That was the most suspenseful part, I thought.
Yeah, I'm with Tasha on that. I agree. That would be my favorite too. I think it's just because it's more relatable as a woman too.
Yeah, that's true.
According to John Krasinski, Emily Blunt did the bathtub scene in one take. And as soon as he said cut, Blunt left character instantly and just asked the crew, "What's everyone having for lunch?"
That's awesome. Wow.
So she lets out this blood curdling scream, and it's just like, so I could go for some tuna salad right about now. That's pretty funny. Mine is specifically like, as much as I have problems with the scene, which I'll explain in a little bit. My favorite scene is when the basement's flooding and you've got red light and the creature is down there. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, it's kind of creepy. And then that motherfucker slinks under the water. And I was like, oh, like that was the only time in the movie that I was like, uh-oh. And then this is my problem. It was at that time I go, why is the baby box uncovered? And then second, why is the baby not wearing its oxygen mask? Like it literally just was like all of that. I was just like, what the fuck? Because in the previous scene, it's all locked up and it's got the thing and all this stuff. So there's a lot of those kind of plot holes that fucked with me in this. But that scene though, with it fucking slinking under the water, I wish there was more of that in the movie. Because I think that was very, very well done in this. I am actually interested in seeing the sequel, and there's a prequel that's supposed to be like Day Zero coming out this year. So it's got that.
That'll fill in some gaps.
Yeah, like
I'm hoping that one like ties some loose ends that we have with this first one.
Wesley instantly was like, all right, can we watch the second one now? Like, if I remember correctly, he gave this movie a very specific 8.6 out of 10.
8.6.
So, I was just, right on, man. You're getting into dad territory. I got questioned about my quarters, and now Wesley's into 10s.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he was very specific about it. Yeah, my favorite scene was the same thing as the pregnancy one where she goes into labor, and then we had to explain to Wes like what was actually happening to her because she's got we had to go through the whole amniotic fluid conversation and pregnancy. Yeah, so we're having this conversation as we're watching this.
He understands how a baby like is born, but like he doesn't understand like what water breaking is. He's 10 years old. Like he understands like the birds and bees. But like, you know, until you actually get a little older and stuff, especially as a boy, that's just not something that, like, until you hit a certain age into like health class, that's not open conversation that you're just going to be like wrenching on a car and it's like, so you know when the mucus plug releases.
Yeah.
Hand me that socket.
Yeah, I thought I just liked her character in the whole movie. I thought it was she was the one I always wanted the screen to be on, because like most of her parts I really enjoyed. As of, like I said, the kids, I was kind of bored for a lot of their scenes. It just didn't add anything. And then I like John Krasinski's character in this movie. Yes, his death is pointless and stuff like that, but I give him props because, you know, he's the dad trying to do the best for his family and learning and all of this stuff. Like, we don't even know if like this was originally their home. We don't know any of this. We don't know if they moved there because this is safe in the middle of nowhere. Like, they're, you know, because we don't know what the towns look like. Like, there's so many questions. And like, we were talking about like the comparison between this and like Bird Box in that sense is like, yes, we have an alien entity. Bird Box is way more violent than this is, and it is at ground zero, like when stuff just starts popping off. So like and then later on, it obviously isn't, and we're on a river and stuff with that movie. But you can draw a similar line. I think they came out within a couple of years or a year or whatever of each other. But I do like one of those movies more than the other. So I think it's just...
I would consider like Bird Box like the dollar store version of A Quiet Place, personally.
You think that Bird Box was worse than this movie?
Wow.
Oh, not me at all. I think Bird Box is way better than this movie. Yes.
We can get right into reviews unless you girls have more to talk about.
I don't care.
Works for me.
No, good.
I don't think I have anything.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we can get into reviews. I'll start since it's kind of already stemming it. So, reasons being, I'll just use it as the comparison as the conversation started. Why I like this better than Bird Box. This movie doesn't do the flashbacky bullshit for the entire film. That was a huge problem that I had with this. This movie, though, its problem is its rule with its silence and stuff like that. I have a problem with that, right? So those two things can kind of, I'll just say, negate each other. Okay. But I like the creature design. I think the acting in this was better. Like, I think John Krasinski and Emily Blunt do better than Sandra Bullock and what's his name? John Malkovich. All that kind of stuff. There was no blood and gore really in this. I mean, you see a dead old lady and you see John Krasinski get a little like puncture wound and stuff. Obviously, I want more blood and gore and all that jazz. But for being, there's a lot of reasons to like this movie. And I think that the reasons to like the movie outweigh the reasons to not like this movie, where I think Bird Box is the other way, because my problems with this movie just all stem from like the sound stuff. And it's
Which
like,
is
so
a big
you're telling
component.
Yeah, but it's like, so you're telling me that they never thought of this, they never thought of that, they never thought of this. Where with Bird Box, it was the structure of the movie that just the back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That's what drug that movie down for me. Where this one, the way the movie is shot and everything as well, the way the story works as well and everything, there's just huge plot holes for me. Stuff like that.
So what are you rating it?
Getting there. Jesus Christ. Let me fucking talk this episode.
Shit to do, apparently.
God, I guess. So maybe I'll just talk for another 5 hours, okay? So I originally gave this a score after watching it. And then I thought about it. Like, we just watched it last night. So I thought about it and stuff, and I was like, well, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. Think about the things that you did like and everything. And like I did, I really did like the monster. The problems I have with, jumping through a steel wall but can't get through the tin top of a truck, stuff like that. I'm just like, but does it actually matter and stuff like that? But the biggest thing is just sound. So for this movie, for A Quiet Place. Like I said, I am interested in seeing the second one, right?
That's
So
good.
this isn't the score I'm giving it, but giving you guys, like, I actually was just discussing this with our listener Brian the other day. He was asking me about scores of some movies that I had talked about that weren't on the podcast and how I actually score stuff. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. A 5 to me is a movie that I probably will never watch again. Right. So that's how I look at it. 5 is like, I can see why people like it. It's not for me, blah, blah, blah. So I'll probably never watch it again. That's it. I'll probably end up watching this again. It's not the best movie by any means and stuff. So it's obviously above a 5. So I initially gave this a 5. Then I started thinking about it and it was at a 5.5. And I ended up actually stopping at a 6. I give this movie a 6 out of 10 because I think it was really well acted. I think it poses some interesting things that, like I said, I am interested in actually watching the second film. As I did say, it did feel a little long by the end because of the problems I had with the sound and stuff like that, which it won awards, I guess, for. So I'm wrong. But yeah, like I would like to see more with these monsters with a tighter rule set. Just be more true to what you're supposed to be. Like when that's the gimmick of the movie. Like that's my biggest thing. That's the gimmick of the movie. You have to be true to it, or it just doesn't, or the trick doesn't work. Yeah. Because if honestly, if that shit wasn't glaring to me, this movie would have been way higher. It was just that, like I could see if done the way that I want this movie to be done, I can easily see this movie being like a 7.5 or something, because it is an interesting enough idea. It's just that like it was glaring to me. Like it was, you might as well had a flashlight in my face the whole time anything happened. I'm like, so why can't I hear this? Why can't I hear that? Because that's the gimmick you're selling me. So, but yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10. It's not bad.
Okay. What do you got, Tasha?
I, like you, Steph, didn't care for a lot of the kids stuff. Honestly, I only really liked the scenes that were done in the houses or the house more than anything. I loved the monsters. I thought those were done really, really well. Like we've said, John Krasinski's death just seemed like it seemed forced. I think it could have, if he had to go, I feel like there could have been a much better way for him to be offed, but it just seemed like a forced love. Like now I will profess my love. Yeah. And I didn't care for that. I loved every scene Emily Blunt was in. But a lot of the movie, honestly, for me was kind of forgettable. I think I would watch it again. I think it's a pretty easy watch to kind of just have on in the background or whatever, or just to like sit down and just rewatch something. I think it would be a simple one to do. Unfortunately, we don't have Paramount or Netflix, so I actually had to rent it. So I wouldn't watch it. Like if it was like on TV, I would probably maybe catch it. But for all of that, I didn't notice the sound issues as much as you did. There were a couple points here and there that I was questioning it. But overall, I will probably watch it again. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. How do you think of it compared to Bird Box? I mean, obviously, rating wise, we already know you like Bird Box better, but how do you think of it in comparison?
In general, I like Bird Box better. And for Nick to, like, on your point about, like, you wanted there to be more gore, I thought it was okay not having a lot because
it's not that I wanted. It's not that I wanted. It's like what's the way to put it? It builds up with like this monster stuff. You expect to see the monster actually get somebody, and it doesn't really do that. So like that's my thing is like I want to see why these things are so feared, other than their speed.
Gotcha. I see it as the whole movie is about evading these things and keeping them in the shadows. So I like that we got to see them. I wish we would have seen less of them, actually. Like seen them off in the distance or heard them off in the distance.
I wish we would have seen less of just their ear. That's my big thing. Yeah. Like they just kept zooming
we get it. They have good hearing.
Exactly. Yeah. That like every time they'd show that. Like the zoom into the ear. Yep. And every time they'd show John Krasinski, he was putting up the shush finger.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie for me, it was I was the one that recommended it. So this was my second watch. I don't think it's as good to watch the second time as it was the first. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really liked it the first time. I watched it this time and I was kind of a little bit, it was okay. Like, I agree with Nick and some of the sound stuff. I don't go to the nth degree like he is with this, but normally we're reversed in that sometimes. So for me, that didn't really factor in. It was just for me about watchability and if it was believability. And I agree with the sound stuff was a little bit off, but the way that it was like with the sound that they played into it and why they did it makes sense. Because it was just the way that they wanted to film the movie. But I agree with Tasha on the same thing about the being in the house. The house stuff was the only thing that was interesting. I could care less about the silo stuff and the car stuff and going to the river stuff and the neighbor stuff. I didn't care about any of that. All of the things that I enjoyed were inside the house, like them playing a board game or them eating or her going into labor and the scene in the bathroom and her being in the basement, like all of those scenes, even the one where she's like in the basement, like not in the house basement, but like the one where like it's in the barn, like that was interesting. Both the couple scenes they had in there, I liked all of that. So I would watch this again. I did not like this even close to watch it as Bird Box. I like Bird Box way more. I think that was more entertaining. I understand why Nick doesn't like Bird Box, but that's not why I don't. I love that movie. That movie made me sob. This movie did not make me tear up once.
Yeah, Bird Box made me cry too, but for different reasons.
I know.
Please, God, get me off of this ride.
I know, but I agree with you. Like that movie does do a lot of flashing back and forth, but I actually enjoy that about that movie.
Vietnam vets have less flashbacks than that movie has.
Probably, but I really liked that about that movie, and I feel like that movie has a lot more depth than this one does, and so I think that's why I appreciated it more. And I just had a lot more emotional relationships with those characters.
Like I said, like I think that's the big thing with that movie and stuff is, I can almost guarantee you could double feature this with Bird Box for a father and a mother to watch, and the dads are going to like this more than Bird Box, and Bird Box, like, because this plays a lot more on the fatherly figure and the quote, even though it's fucking worthless, the sacrifice of the father there at the end and shit like that. But
that's
like that's why I like these. That's almost like, okay, so
but there's a sacrifice at the other one.
I know, but that one's stupid fucking shit too. Fucking hate that movie.
It wasn't. That one made so much sense, and it was fucking brilliant. And it was so good. We will not talk about Bird Box anymore.
What do you give this movie?
I love
what
that
do you
movie.
give A Quiet Place?
Sorry. What? I'm not allowed to talk for 5 hours now?
Bitch, please.
Didn't you just fucking say that to me?
Yeah, because you kept cutting me off. You're just like, what do you
I'm just teasing you. That's why.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Shut the fuck up. 6. I'm giving it a 6.
Give it a 6?
I did. Yeah, I was like kind of hemming and hawing between a 5.5 and a 6. When I first watched this, I would have probably given it between a 6.5 and a 7. But for rewatchability purposes, I think you completely lose all of those elements of suspense watching it the second time. It doesn't give you that same fulfillment. I agree. Like Tasha said, you just probably sit there and just like, watch it occasionally and then, go do your thing, come back and watch it, it'd be fine. But it doesn't, I just did not feel the connection to it as much this time. So
now here's a very interesting thing though. Since you've watched this movie, right? Because I believe you watched this well before you and I had ever gotten together.
Yeah.
Do you think that since watching that and all the films that you've watched for the podcast or just in general and stuff have changed your taste in films or made you look at movies a little different? Because we've had this discussion before where like this podcast has kind of ruined you in a way where it's like, God damn it, I can't watch this movie without picking up all this stuff because now I'm always critiquing things.
Yes,
it's true.
Drew even made that comment when we were watching this because I said something about something and he mentioned like, you're starting.
Very good.
Yeah, something about something. Come on, Tasha.
But I remember him saying like, you're starting to become quite the critic or something along those lines. So yeah, I agree with that statement. I'm watching so many more movies that I'm picking up on similarities. I'm picking up on things that I wouldn't have otherwise as like a casual viewer.
Yeah. Correct. And
I agree.
That's why it's very important that like I say, like, like just because, we like or dislike a movie doesn't mean that there isn't an audience for it. And that's
Correct.
a very big thing about the cast of this podcast, is that we also have very wildly different tastes in things, including our horror. Like, some people like a little peanut butter, some people like a little chocolate. I like some decapitated, prostitutes, whatever. You do what you do, whatever.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a way to go, babe. Yeah.
But the thing that is very interesting is this is one of the few films that we all kind of agree on with our scoring.
We've had a few of those,
not too many to this point. Like, I know Scream was really close in there and stuff, but like,
we just watched one that was like that. I can't remember.
We got a 6, and a 6.5. Yeah, I think those are like the three.
I think High Tension. I think we did. That was
Maybe.
pretty in the same ballpark too. Yeah, I would say even the Train to Busan. I think we all had very similar.
We've been a lot more recently, but.
Yeah, I honestly, I was thinking this last night. Like, we literally just got done watching Train to Busan, and then we're watching this, right? And I think that was, honestly, that's part of the problem for me and watching this. Like, you go from watching, that's where the problem lies. Sometimes you go from watching a movie that legitimately gives you all the feels, and you are so submerged in, and you have this relationship. And then you go into another movie that you just don't resonate with to that degree. And so it almost leaves you at that, you go in with anticipation of hoping that you're going to love it again, or, in general, and then it just doesn't hit like it did, or you don't love it as much. And so there is that letdown. So for me, that is exactly the first thing I thought last night when we finished this movie. I was like, this wasn't Train to Busan. And then that was it. And I was like, fuck. And I think that's the way I look at it when, when you're looking at things from a critical eye, or you're looking about enjoyability with how much we watch movies now. And you do dissect things more heavily because of, that's what we're doing.
You're going to hold things up to a measuring stick that are the other things you've seen.
Correct. So, yeah. And when you're getting more submerged. Yeah. And with horror movies, I'm sure Tasha's watched horror movies probably more than I have up until this point. And so this is all most of these horror movies that we're watching are stuff that I have no experience with. And so my brain is definitely getting expanded in terms of like I said, if you would have asked me a year ago if I liked movies like Evil Dead 2, I would have said you're fucking crazy. And now I really like that movie. So I think that does make a difference for us.
I think this is the first movie that we've all agreed on, but we're all our score is drastically different than the popular vote for this. So Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie a 96%. IMDb gives it a 7.5 out of 10. We gave it a 61.
Yeah. You will more than likely like this movie. I think there's going to be more people that like it than don't. I think that it is wildly overrated. Yeah. I think that's the big thing.
I don't. I think it's the same. Well, I agree in the sense of overrated, but don't you think it's the same thing? Didn't we just talk about a movie recently, or a book, or something we're talking about, or it was baby's first horror movie or something? So it was the same concept. So this is you're
definitely
dipping your toe.
Yeah,
I think so. But especially for alien sci-fi. I do like Signs. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I do think that movie is way more intense than this. And so you don't want to just jump feet first into that. When if you don't know what you're going to get into. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I think this is definitely gate, and that's it's PG-13.
Exactly.
It's got all the trappings. Yeah, it definitely has all the trappings of making the money that it did. What is surprising though is how low the budget was. For $17 million, they did a fucking lot.
They did.
So I give them definitely high praise on that. But
yeah, I agree.
Right, it's Movie Club. We're coming up to the end of the episode. So that was A Quiet Place, our first movie for no unsolicited Nick Pick March.
Just rolls off.
That doesn't rhyme very well, but it works.
We're sticking with it, ladies.
I love it.
Let's do it.
So for our second movie for unsolicited Nick Pick March, we are now going to Natasha. And Natasha's pick for this coming week is Hereditary.
And you can find that on Max.
Yes.
Because they have an entire area on Max that is nothing but A24 films.
So, yes, Steph. Oh, baby.
I cannot wait to hear what you think about it.
I haven't seen it.
I
Yeah.
saw
So
this in
I
theaters.
fucking love A24 films. So
And you have not seen an Ari Aster film. So Ari
No.
Aster
Buckle
famously
up.
did Hereditary.
Yes.
He did Midsummer. He did Beau is Afraid, which just came out, which is kind of horror. But yeah, Hereditary was his big blow up on the scene. I'm
okay.
excited to watch this. It's been a long time since I've seen this. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see it when Tasha put it on the, like, I was excited to watch this too. Like I'm excited for this entire month. You girls gave me a
Awesome.
bunch of movies, and then I just kind of took the movies that I was like, oh yeah, let's mix this in here, mix this in there, and we'll get some good stuff going on.
I haven't seen any of the other ones, so this is going to be exciting just for me because I'm going to be watching 3 new movies I haven't
There you
seen.
go.
So, yeah. I also have a question for the day,
Okay.
so don't forget me on there. So, are you done?
Yeah,
for now,
that's
so I
our
can ask the
homework. We're
question?
watching Hereditary.
Okay. Hereditary, guys. A24. Watch it on Max. It's there. I saw it yesterday.
We're gonna
So-
probably end up watching it on Blu-ray. So,
Oh, okay. We're gonna be bougie.
well, no, I need
Okay.
the special features. God damn it!
I know. But he made me do that for like 1408. We watch special features. We need to only be watching these on movies that we really actually
I have
like.
to
So
do my homework.
this will work. I know.
You don't have to
Okay,
watch it.
so
Steph.
Yeah,
there
go.
you go.
That's right. I do
You go-
if I like
You
the
go
movie.
read your tentacle
So,
porn, okay?
I didn't read any tentacle porn this week.
This
Thank you very
week.
much.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Well, because I took over the bedroom with COVID.
No, but I did read, and I'm not finished with it yet. It was a demon book with a human. So does that count?
Sure.
So is monster porn
Sure.
just wasn't
Always.
tentacle porn?
Always monster
So-
porn.
It
All right,
is.
on to
I
your
just like
question.
it. So, okay, question. So last week we asked the question: if you could face any horror movie monster or villain in real life, who would it be and why? And so we're going to answer that this week. And then I have another question that we're going to put out to our audience. Now, with the way that our lovely podcast works, I can't answer. We can't talk about stuff on here normally because of the way they get put out. But we will at least answer so when people go in and they can listen to us. So, what would your guys's be if you could face any horror or movie monster or villain in real life?
I would like to go after Chucky from Child's Play. That's
Okay.
the one that I would go after just because I think of all of the movie villains and stuff. He's the one that I probably have the best chance of dealing with because if the mom from Seventh Heaven can deal with him, I can deal with him.
Oh my god! The mom from
That's who it is. It's the mom from Seventh Heaven. Is the mom in the first Child's Play movie.
That's lovely. Okay, what do you got for me, Tasha?
Dude, I was gonna say the same thing because
You
I think I
can't.
could
Are
take
you?
him. Like, definitely the doll from Chucky.
Well, you can take Tiffany then. You can take his girlfriend.
No, I think I would have a better chance against Chucky.
Yeah, doesn't have that female fire.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with something not even in the same realm. You guys are all thinking of like going against them and fighting, and
That
I'm
was
just
the
thinking
point.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, but well, could you face and who could you face and who would it be and why? I'm just kind of like I would go against this person because I want to meet
Oh
them.
my god.
And then
Is this a
we
fucking
can
vampire?
do-
Is this some?
It
Is
is.
this? Oh my fucking god!
Are you gonna befriend and fall in love with? And
Exactly.
Yes,
is this
that's
fucking
it, that's
Lestat?
it.
Are you gonna?
It
Are you
is!
fucking
You're so
serious? Are you fucking kidding me?
We never talked about this, guys. Yes, it is. It's Lestat from the Queen of the
God,
Damned.
you fucking thirsty bitch.
I love him. He's a rock star. I just fucking love him. He's
Oh, that's right.
amazing.
You
So,
like white
yes,
trash rock stars. So Kid
I'm
Rock-
married to you.
Oh, how dare you?
it was quick.
Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Ooh.
I'm not
I
fucking
can't
a
breathe.
white trash rock star.
No, you're not.
I would like the court to know this.
But you do make music and you are a musician, so that is
Sure.
a thing.
And
so,
I was born in a trailer.
there you
All
go.
right. So we
but
got
yes,
Lestat.
that would be
Great.
and
And
Chucky.
times 2.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay.
I
And
want
then
specifically the Spanish dubbed version of Chucky that I've seen a lot of super clips of that just makes me fucking laugh
Oh
hysterically.
man.
oh my God. Okay. And then our other thing is our question for this week that I'm going to post online is what was your? We're not going to answer this yet. We're going to hope that you guys are. on our social media pages. What is your favorite horror movie as a child and why?
Favorite horror film as a child.
Got
and
it.
We're go.
You can't. Yeah, for next week for us. To
Well,
answer,
I just want to clarify a little bit. So, is it horror in the sense of like what we cover?
It can be whatever that's horror for us as a child.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying like horror adjacent. Like,
yeah, I would say like whatever. If it was horrific to us as children, that would be classified as horror.
So that's what I'm saying. Scary. It has to actually be scary to us.
I would say. I mean, if it's horror, wouldn't it probably be scary to us to some degree?
Well, I mean, kids? Like, would you consider like Little Monsters and Beetlejuice?
Little Monsters scared the ever.
Neither of those movies scared me as a child. I liked those.
Beetlejuice did mildly.
I liked those movies as a child, but they didn't scare me. So, like, I'm saying, like, is that a valid thing for me? Not that that's my answer, but I'm just saying.
I would say so. Like,
but I think
if they were intended to be scary in some capacity, whether or not it scared you.
Gotcha.
Yes. And what was it? Your favorite one as a child?
Okay.
So that's what I would go with. So that's our question for this.
All right. So yeah, hit up our socials. That question should be posted on Instagram and Facebook.
And maybe on our TikTok.
Yeah, on the bumper in the middle gives you all the information. But find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you got any questions, comments, or complaints, or any movie suggestions, hit us up at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Because I really do want movie recommendations from you guys.
Yes.
Because you are part of this movie club. Hell, you can help name the movie club because I've been kicking around some ideas for the name of the said movie club. Not just Pod of the Dead movie club, Pod of the Dead is the podcast. Our movie club is called, it has the Losers Club and all that shit, right? And the Hellfire Club and Stranger Things, right? We need a really good title for our movie club. So give us movie suggestions. Give us movie club title suggestions. But with all that being said, for Pod of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
And I am Tasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.